Thank you for inviting me to chat to you today about is sitting the new smoking. So I've got my quote here somewhere. I love a controversial quote, and this one's got to be one of the best. So look, so this one's taken from Dr. James Levine when he was talking to the LA Times a couple of years ago. And he says, sitting is more dangerous than smoking, kills more people than HIV, is more treacherous than parachuting, and we're sitting ourselves to death. The chair is out to kill us, which caused much hilarity, basically, because now you don't want to sit down. I thought it was a bit of a mean quote as well, because you can choose to give up smoking at any time, but you can't choose to stop sitting down because it pays the mortgage and pays your bills and all of that stuff. So, as with all things, it's a no from me. And it always just starts my brain thinking. I can't help but just tick away at these things and think, you know, and in response to that, everybody rushed out and bought a standing desk. But most of the people I work with don't know how to stand. They stand with their knees locked out and their bum sticking out. And, you know, what I felt was that we'd actually missed the point. So we're going to work through some just really simple gravity techniques today. If you don't know me, I'm the creator of the gravity technique, which is a movement modality and a manual release therapy that helps to bring your body back into its natural alignment, back into its natural state. So I've got my trusty sidekicks here, Dave, Steve and Mike, and they're going to help. So first things first is that your skeleton is perfect. I've worked with a lot of people that come in and say, I've been told, you know, I've got one leg that's longer than the other and all these other bits and pieces. And actually, your skeleton is perfect. What we lack are the muscle structures, the soft tissue structures to accommodate the shape that we're displaying. And it's when the muscles get too tight and they start pulling the bones together that the bones rub, and then when we end up with chronic pain. So that's basically the premise behind that. So it's looking at your habitual movement patterns, and one of those is sitting. But the point that I feel Levine missed, and the whole thing about the standing desks and whether we're sitting, whether we're standing, whether we're, I think the other one during lockdown was you can do laying on the floor with your head like this, you know, and do that for 20 minutes and then your buzzer goes off. And it's basically musical chairs around your lounge throughout the whole of lockdown, sitting, standing, laying. But the point is that we're still performing the same function, which is looking at the computer. And the prime driver behind that is that your head is out of the gravity line. So it's now a syndrome. Everything's a syndrome. It's not real until it's a syndrome, really, you know, once science has got hold of it. So we've got forward head syndrome, which sounds, you know, super scary and absolutely terrible, and is, you know, cited as one of the prime causes of low back pain now. But coming back to the point of your head being forward, and also the slightly inflammatory quote that we've just heard, it's all very well and nice knowing that your head is forward and knowing that we're sitting down too long, but what do you do about it? So what I really wanted to dig into today was, what do we do about it, and to give you some practical tips to do something about it in a really simple, easy way. So first things first, when your head comes forward for a reason, it's to look at the computer. So we've got two versions of focus. We've got sharp focus and we've got fuzzy focus. So sharp focus is was designed, you know, when we were ancient humans living in villages. Sharp focus is to look at the hill far away and see the person coming over it. Are they coming to steal my chocolate oranges, burn my village to the ground? Obviously stealing the chocolate's way worse. So I want to see, are they my friend or are they coming to conquer my village? And also sharp focus is to see the tiger in the bushes before I get eaten, that sort of stuff. These days it's to look at a computer screen, but it elicits the same response, and that's the fight and flight response, which is a whole chemical nightmare, basically. We get a whole load of cortisol, a whole load of adrenaline. We get ready to run away from the saber-toothed tiger, but it's not a tiger, it's an email or a phone call. So how do we take and the head comes forward and lots of muscles get involved in that. So to get your head back into the gravity line, which is just this magic line where your head, which is about a stone in weight, suddenly becomes weightless at the top of your spine. A really simple way to do that is to switch your focus into fuzzy focus. And fuzzy focus is our peripheral vision, which helps us to go into relax and repose state. So we're going to do this together. So you're going to put your thumbs out in front of you. And I want you to have a look at your thumbs. And we're really going to stare at the thumbs, and we want to get all the details of the thumbs. So we want to see the stripy bits on your nails, and the wrinkles in the skin, the creases in the thumb, all of that stuff. And really, really stare at your thumbs and try and get as much detail about your thumbs as you possibly can. And you'll find that over time, your head starts to track forwards. Because that's what we do. And you do the same thing in driving. So if you're a long distance driver, we're taking in massive amounts of information about our environment, and the head comes forward and sharpens the focus so we can take in more amounts of information than we would normally. So then if you look past your thumbs, so they go fuzzy, hence fuzzy focus, and then we're going to take the thumbs outwards, and you're going to keep them in your vision. Now, standard human peripheral vision is 180 degrees, believe it or not. And in order to keep both thumbs in your peripheral vision, you're going to have to sink your chin into the back of your head, and your head will go backwards. And you just keep tracking your thumbs out. And this is a practice, not a perfect. So if you only get to, I have raging dyscalculia, so I know nothing about degrees and things. So if you get to like 10 to 2 and that's it on your clock, or whatever, wherever it is, the practices, and it's a practice, not perfect, but it's a really good practice to see if you can get to 180 degrees. And just notice how your head feels. Notice if your eye position in your head has changed, because they sink back, it's micromillimeters, but it feels massive amounts. And your head goes back, and you might feel a bit of a stretch in your neck, and you feel that the shoulders drop. So this is a really good one to just post-it note on the top of your computer. Have you fuzzied? Have you fuzzied today? Or set something in your phone, get your phone alarm to go off at lunchtime, just to remind you to do it. You only need to do it maybe at lunchtime and then at the end of the day, but it just helps you to keep your head back into the gravity line, and that makes a deep impact on your low spine. So we talk about the low back issues, and this is why they're saying, sitting is the new smoking, because we're collapsing down into our organs, and our organs aren't getting the movement, the massage, all of that stuff that we need. And we get that by walking. So what I wanted to change with you today was, when you do get up, when we're in the office, and I've left my slippers on purpose today, so you're going to get to see my lovely slippers. I might have to push back actually slightly. There. So when we're on our chair, and my chair's gone for a walk, but we'll just pretend. So when I'm on my chair, my pelvis is tilted under, I've got this lovely long spine. I get up, I'm feeling a bit grouchy about, whatever I'm reading on the computer. And off I go to the coffee machine, and I slope along. And actually, what we want to look at is how, I'm going to have screen issues now. Let's do that. Hopefully get the whole of me in. That's better. So from here, so we're all going to come standing up. So push your chair out of the way. I'm going to put my glasses on, because now the screen and I are going to have issues. So, and yes, I have funny feet. So when you get up to go and make your coffee or your tea, because Victoria's here, so it's going to be herbal tea. So when you get up to go and make your tea or your coffee or whatever it is, and you switch your kettle on, this is your kettle boiling pose. It takes 7 minutes for the low spine muscles. So when we're sitting, the tail tucks under and we get this lovely long spine. But it takes 7 minutes for these muscles to reset themselves to an appropriate length that supports your spine. So when you're standing, we switch the kettle on, and all we're going to do is, and you can do this in your shoes as well, notice how your body feels. Now, for most of us, we're going to be back in the heels with the knees locked out. So you just make the knees soft and you bring your body weight forward into your toes, drop your kneecaps and soften the front of your hips. And you'll feel the lift of the tummy muscles, and you feel a nice lift into the underside of the ribs as well. So, and you can do this in the supermarket. You can do this while you're waiting for the kettle to boil. I call it teeth cleaning pose. It's the first thing I prescribe to my clients. So, and also notice whether you stand more heavily on one side or the other. So most of us stand on one side with the knee locked out, with a drink in one hand. But actually what we want to do is see if we can just level up the weight distribution through the feet. So both sides of the feet, and even weight distribution between the heels and the toes. And this resets the muscle patterning in your body for standing. So when you go back down to sitting, and we're going back down to sitting on our chairs, but I'm going to go on my mat. So when we come back down to sitting, rather than sitting down with the spine in the same C shape as it was when we left to go and get the coffee, now we've got sit bones that come down into your chair. And a great hack for this is just to get, you can get a rolled towel, you can get a cheese wedge for your seat, but you want to be tipping your hips forward slightly on your seat. So whether your seat tips you forwards, depends on the kind of desk chair you've got, will tip you forwards, and you want to be feeling your sitting bones. So for a lot of us, we're back on the spine with the spine tucked under, and you can see this automatically rolls the spine and brings your head forwards. But actually we want to feel that the sit bones get pulled down into the seat, and that gives us a nice upward lift. This is good. So a couple of stats for, I'll come back now. Oh, it's good. Now I can see you again. Oh, not with those on. Right. So the other thing that you can do when you get home, you can do it in the office, but people think you're a bit odd. When you get home, just find yourself a piece of wall, and you want to bring your hips into the wall, your ribs into the wall, and your head into the wall. If you do this at the end of each day, it resets your body back into the gravity line. Now, I wrote down some stats. As I told you, I've got a bit of dyscalculia, which means that me and the numbers don't get on well, which is great for an anatomist and a scientist. It's not a good combo. But basically, your head is about a stone in weight. So for those of us that work in kilos, it's about 5 kilos. If your head is forward by 2 inches, which isn't really a whole lot in my world, I don't really know what that is, but anyway, that makes a difference. Your head then becomes the weight of 2.5 stone, because we're borne down by gravity, and gravity takes us towards the floor. So if the head is out of the gravity line, we've got all of a sudden we've got this weight of the head plus gravity, and the poor muscles on the back are really, really unhappy. So bringing our head back is really important. Standing through the central part of your feet with your knees unlocked and your head in the gravity line is going to change the game when you're using a standing desk. And keeping your head into the gravity line when you're sitting and staying on your sit bones rather than back into the back of your pelvis is also going to change the game while you're sitting. So you can give up. You can give up poor sitting, and you can, you know, there's so much that you can do to support yourself while you're sitting. If you can't lift your head up, if you can't pick your ribs out of your tummy, if you can't find your sit bones when you're sitting, it's time to get off your butt and go and do something else. Go and have a mooch around the grounds, go and get some lunch, go and make a coffee, something like that. I think the old, I know we've Brexited now, and this is a really old stat, probably about 20 years old. I think the old EU directive was you're supposed to have a break from your desk every 40 minutes. And I don't know about you, but I'm not sure my boss would have been really impressed at me having a 10-minute break every 40 minutes. I'm just going out now, again. And we don't do it, and we sit for hours and hours and hours. taking in massive amounts of information through our sharp focus. But actually what we want to do is set our timers, give ourselves some breaks, and change the way that we sit fundamentally in the first place, and the way that we stand. If you can have a standing desk and a sitting desk, you're dead Gucci, but that's the way you want to be, and alternate between the two. But just be mindful of your body positioning when you're at the desk. So that's me. I hope that's been useful. I think I've done it on time. Hopefully that's okay.
Very good. Thank you, Caz.